Welcome to the Discourse Analyzer AI Toolkit, where articles come alive. You're listening to the audio version of our article. For the full text and an interactive experience, check out the link in the description below. Interact with any selection using our AI assistant to enhance your understanding. Let's explore.
Key themes in Feminist Post-Structuralism and Discourse Analysis. In the rich tapestry of Feminist Post-Structuralist discourse analysis, the intricate themes of identity and subjectivity, power and resistance, and the discursive construction of body, sexuality, and desire stand out as crucial areas of exploration. This theoretical framework delves deep into the ways in which gender identities and subjectivities are not merely given or natural but are instead constructed and constantly reshaped within the flux of discursive practices. Central to this exploration is the concept of performativity, which challenges traditional notions of gender roles and offers insights into the possibilities for resistance and redefinition. Through a critical examination of how power operates and is contested within discourses, and a profound engagement with the ways in which bodies and sexualities are constructed and regulated, feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis illuminates the complex dynamics of gender, power, and desire in contemporary society. This introduction sets the stage for a detailed exploration of these themes, highlighting the transformative potential of discourse in challenging normative assumptions and opening up new avenues for understanding and living gender. 1. Identity and subjectivity. Feminist post-structuralism and discourse analysis delve deeply into the complexities of identity and subjectivity, emphasizing the pivotal role of discourse in constructing and constraining gender identities. Two key themes central to this exploration are the ways in which discourse shapes gender identity and subjectivity, and the concept of performativity in understanding gender roles. 1. How discourse shapes and constrains gender identity and subjectivity. Discursive construction of gender. Feminist post-structuralism posits that gender identity is not a fixed or innate attribute but is constructed through discourse. Language and cultural narratives provide the scripts and norms through which gender identities are performed and understood. This perspective emphasizes that what it means to be male, female, or any other gender is produced within specific cultural and historical discourses, rather than being a universal given. Subjectivity as fluid and fragmented. From a feminist post-structuralist viewpoint, subjectivity, the sense of self or identity, is also discursively constructed. It suggests that subjectivity is not a coherent, stable entity but is fluid, multiple, and continually being reconstituted through discursive practices. This fluidity allows for resistance and renegotiation of gender norms, though it also highlights how subjectivities are constrained by the power relations embedded in discourses. 2. The notion of performativity in gender roles. Performativity explained. Judith Butler's concept of performativity is seminal in feminist post-structuralist thought. It suggests that gender is not something one is or has, but something one does, an ongoing set of actions performed in accordance with societal norms and expectations. Gender performativity underscores the repetitive and performative nature of gender, enacted through discourse and other social practices. Challenging fixed gender roles. The notion of performativity is revolutionary because it challenges the idea of gender roles as fixed or natural. By understanding gender roles as performances that are socially mandated and repeated, feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis reveals the potential for subversion and change. It opens up spaces for alternative performances that resist traditional gender norms and contribute to the destabilization of rigid gender binaries. Agency within discourse. While discourses are powerful in shaping gender identities, the concept of performativity also implies a degree of agency. Individuals can play with, resist, or redefine the scripts available to them, even within constraining power structures. This perspective highlights the creative and potentially subversive aspects of performing gender, suggesting that through alternative performances, individuals can challenge and shift the discourses that seek to define them. The exploration of identity and subjectivity within feminist post-structuralism and discourse analysis provides critical insights into how gender is constructed and performed in society. By examining the discursive production of gender and the concept of performativity, This theoretical framework illuminates the fluid and constructed nature of gender roles, offering avenues for questioning, resisting, and reshaping gender norms. Through this lens, discourse is not only a medium through which gender identities are constrained but also a realm of potential resistance and transformation, where new understandings and performances of gender can emerge. 2. Power and resistance. Feminist post-structuralism and discourse analysis are deeply concerned with the dynamics of power and resistance within societies, specifically examining how these dynamics manifest through language and discourse. This perspective sheds light on the intricate ways in which power relations are both reinforced and contested within various discursive practices, emphasizing the role of discourse in both the perpetuation of inequalities and the possibilities for their subversion. 1. Examining power relations within discourses. Discourse as a vehicle for power. Central to feminist post-structuralist analysis is the understanding that discourse is not merely a reflection of power relations but a means through which power is exercised and maintained. This approach draws heavily on Foucault's concept of power, knowledge, suggesting that power operates through the production of knowledge via discourse. By shaping what can be said, who can speak, and which narratives are legitimized, discourses serve to establish and reinforce certain power structures within society. Gendered power dynamics. In the context of gender, feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis focuses on how discourses construct and naturalize gendered hierarchies. This includes examining the ways in which language and media represent gender roles, the visibility and representation of women and other gender minorities in public discourses, and how institutional practices and policies reflect and perpetuate gender inequalities. 2. Strategies of resistance and subversion in language. Subverting dominant discourses. Strategies of resistance and subversion are key themes within feminist post-structuralist thought, highlighting how individuals and groups use language to challenge and destabilize dominant power structures. This can involve the reappropriation of derogatory terms, the creation of new language and narratives that affirm marginalized identities, or the use of irony and parody to undermine sexist or oppressive discourses. Creating counter-discourses. Feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis also explores the creation and strengthening of counter-discourses that offer alternative visions of gender and society. This includes examining spaces where marginalized voices are amplified, such as feminist media, literature, and online platforms, and how these spaces contribute to the broader project of social change by contesting mainstream narratives and promoting diversity and equality. Performative acts of resistance. Building on the notion of performativity, this approach recognizes everyday acts of linguistic and performative resistance as significant challenges to gender norms. By enacting gender in ways that defy normative expectations, individuals can expose the constructed nature of gender roles and contribute to the gradual reshaping of societal attitudes toward gender. The themes of power and resistance are central to feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis, offering a nuanced framework for understanding the complex interactions between language, gender, and society. By examining how power relations are embedded within and contested through discourse, this approach not only reveals the mechanisms through which gendered inequalities are perpetuated but also highlights the potential for language to serve as a powerful tool for resistance, subversion, and social transformation. Through this lens, discourse becomes a battleground where the struggles for gender equality and social justice are continuously fought and renegotiated. 3. Body, sexuality, and desire. Feminist post-structuralism and discourse analysis critically engage with the themes of body, sexuality, and desire, examining how these aspects of human experience are constructed and regulated through discourse. This perspective offers a powerful lens through which to understand the ways in which bodies and sexual identities are not merely biological or natural entities but are shaped by cultural, social, and political discourses. Through this analysis, feminist post-structuralism challenges normative assumptions about gender, sexuality, and desire, revealing the potential for resistance and redefinition. 1. The discursive construction of the body and sexuality. Body as a site of discursive production. From a feminist post-structuralist perspective, the body is seen as a site where social and cultural meanings are inscribed. Discourses surrounding health, beauty, morality, and normalcy play a significant role in defining how bodies should appear and function, often reinforcing gendered and sexual norms. This approach examines how bodies are made legible and intelligible within specific discursive frameworks and how these frameworks privilege certain bodies over others. Sexuality is constructed and regulated. Similarly, sexuality is understood as a discursive construct, shaped by the languages of science, law, religion, and popular culture. Feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis explores how these discourses produce certain understandings of sexuality, delineating what is considered normal or deviant, and influencing how individuals experience and express their sexual identities. 2. Challenging normative assumptions about gender and desire. Questioning binary constructs. One of the critical interventions of feminist post-structuralism is the challenge to binary constructs of gender and sexuality, male, female, heterosexual, homosexual, that fail to capture the complexity and fluidity of human experiences. Through discourse analysis, scholars demonstrate how these binaries are culturally produced and maintained, and how they can be contested and reimagined. Reconceptualizing desire. Desire is another area where feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis challenges normative assumptions. This approach interrogates how desires are shaped by social and cultural narratives, questioning the naturalness of certain desires and the pathologization of others. It also explores the possibilities for expressing desires that defy heteronormative and patriarchal frameworks, looking at how alternative discourses of desire can emerge and gain legitimacy. Embodied resistance and agency. Central to this analysis is the recognition of the potential for agency and resistance within discursive constraints. This includes examining how individuals and communities resist prescriptive norms about the body, sexuality, and desire through practices of body modification, queer expressions of sexuality, and the articulation of non-normative desires. Such resistances not only challenge dominant discourses but also contribute to the creation of new spaces for understanding and experiencing the body and sexuality. The exploration of body, sexuality, and desire within feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis illuminates the profound ways in which these aspects of human life are discursively constructed and regulated. By challenging normative assumptions and binaries, this approach opens up critical spaces for questioning and redefining the meanings attached to bodies, sexual identities, and desires. Through its focus on the power of discourse to both constrain and liberate, feminist post-structuralism underscores the potential for transformative change in how gender, sexuality, and the body are understood and lived. Conclusion. Feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis provides a compelling framework for understanding the complex interplay between discourse, gender identity, power, and the construction of the body and sexuality. By foregrounding the pivotal role of discourse in shaping and constraining gender identities and subjectivities, this approach offers critical insights into the performative nature of gender roles and the potential for their subversion and redefinition. The exploration of power and resistance within discourses reveals the mechanisms through which gendered power dynamics are perpetuated and the ways in which they can be contested, highlighting the role of language as both a tool of oppression and a means of liberation. Additionally, the critical engagement with the themes of body, sexuality, and desire challenges normative assumptions and binary constructs, opening up spaces for alternative expressions of gender and sexuality that resist heteronormative and patriarchal norms. Through its nuanced analysis of discourse, feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis not only deepens our understanding of the dynamics of gender and power but also underscores the potential for transformative change in the ways gender, sexuality, and the body are conceived and experienced. This approach ultimately contributes to the broader project of fostering a more inclusive, equitable, and just society, where diverse expressions of identity and desire are recognized and valued. Frequently asked questions. What does feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis reveal about the body? It reveals that the body is not just a biological entity but a site where social and cultural meanings are inscribed. Discourses around health, beauty, and normalcy significantly influence how bodies are perceived and regulated, often reinforcing gender norms and expectations. How is sexuality understood within feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis? Sexuality is seen as a discursive construct shaped by various societal discourses, including science, law, and popular culture. These discourses determine what is considered normal or deviant, influencing individuals' experiences and expressions of their sexual identities. What challenges do feminist post-structuralist perspectives pose to binary constructs of gender and sexuality? These perspectives challenge the notion that gender and sexuality exist in binaries, such as male, female, heterosexual, homosexual, arguing instead that these categories are culturally produced and maintained. They advocate for recognizing the complexity and fluidity of gender and sexuality beyond these binary constructs. How does the concept of performativity relate to gender roles and identity? Judith Butler's concept of performativity suggests that gender is an act performed according to societal norms and expectations, rather than a fixed attribute. This perspective highlights the repetitive nature of gender, enacted through discourse and social practices, and suggests potential for subversion and change in gender performances. Can you explain how discourses shape and constrain gender identity and subjectivity? Discourses provide the scripts and norms through which gender identities are performed and understood, constructing gender as a social category. Subjectivity, or the sense of self, is also shaped by discursive practices, implying that gender identity is fluid and multiple, continually reconstructed through language and culture. What role do power dynamics play in feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis? Power dynamics are central to understanding how discourses construct and regulate gendered identities. This analysis examines how language and discourse enact power relations, particularly in constructing and maintaining gender norms, and explores strategies for resistance and subversion within these power structures. How does feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis approach the topic of desire? Desire is interrogated as a construct influenced by societal narratives, questioning the naturalness of certain desires and the pathologization of others. This approach explores how desires that defy heteronormative and patriarchal norms can be expressed and legitimized through alternative discourses. What strategies of resistance and subversion are highlighted in this analytical framework? Strategies include the reappropriation of derogatory terms, the creation of counter-discourses that challenge gender norms, and performative acts that resist traditional gender roles. These strategies demonstrate how individuals can use language and performance to challenge dominant narratives and create new understandings of gender and sexuality. How does feminist post-structuralist discourse analysis contribute to social change? By critically examining and challenging the discourses that shape understandings of gender, sexuality, and the body, this approach advocates for the deconstruction of normative assumptions and binaries. It highlights the potential for discursive practices to contribute to more inclusive and diverse expressions of identity, promoting transformative change in societal attitudes and norms. What does the integration of feminist and post-structuralist theories offer to the analysis of discourse? The integration offers a nuanced framework for analyzing how gender is constructed and contested in discourse, emphasizing the role of language in shaping social realities. It provides tools for critically engaging with gender norms and power relations, offering insights into the possibilities for resistance and the redefinition of gender and sexuality.